my kako, a komamai curtain call, a weekly program of reviews, previews, interviews, and features of and with the great art and artists on Maui and beyond. I'm Paul James Brown. ProArts Playhouse is presenting Ken Ludwig's Baskerville, a Sherlock Holmes mystery directed by Ricky Jones. Best known for his multi-Tony award-winning play Lend Me A Tenor, Mr. Ludwig has taken his pen, along with his sardonic and farcical sense of humor, to the characters and situations given to us by Sir Arthur Conan Doyle and his most famous character, the super sleuth Sherlock Holmes. He chose to adapt The Hound of the Baskervilles to the stage because, quote, "I think it's the best of all the Holmes stories. It's clever and crafty, filled with colorful characters, an especially fine villain, has evocative writing, and it moves along like lightning," unquote. Mr. Jones has taken Ken Ludwig's play and reimagined it. The first minutes of the play are entirely silent. We see Watson, Paul Jekyll, sitting in a chair asleep. Mrs. Hudson, Jamie Nicole Wilcox, the housekeeper, directs a reluctant maid, Lena Iko Kruger, to cover him. He comes to, intermittently, telling us how it all began with simplicity. Holmes, Elisha Cullens, enters and is hushed by Mrs. Hudson. She hands him a manuscript. He begins to read and will remain here reading throughout the play. We realize that Mr. Jones' concept is we are seeing Watson's recollections playing out in Holmes' mind using the people in his life. It is brilliant. The story takes place in London and Devonshire in the late 19th century. The male members of the Baskerville family have been murdered one by one. Sherlock Holmes and Dr. Watson have to untangle the web of deceit, mendacity, calumny, and greed to save the next heir from the family curse and the hound that stalks them. Holmes needs Watson to go to the country to protect Sir Henry Baskerville, Actor 2, Ashley Ventimiglia, as Holmes must tend to a matter with the Prince of Bohemia. Due to the death of his uncle, Sir Charles, Henry has come into a considerable sum, more than $3 million. There are those who would rather have this inheritance. They say there is a monster, a hound, on the moors. Watson has been sent to prevent any harm from coming to Sir Henry. Is there a wild hellhound prowling the moors? Can Holmes and Watson discover the truth in time? Get tickets at ProArtsMaui.org to find out. You only have 8 more chances. The opening weekend was sold out. Ricky Jones has done a superb job putting this production together. The playwright calls for 3 actors to play 35 parts. Only Holmes and Watson do not play any other characters. Besides Mr. Jones, who had to be the traffic cop for this steeplechase, Micah Oberg gets big creds as the costumer. The changes the characters made had to be quicker than a blink. All 3 of these actors are females, besides Ms. Ventimiglia, Actor 2, Christy Scott is Actor 3, and Lena Iko Kruger, Actor 1. They display their prodigious character actor abilities, range of physicality, dialectability, and virtual instantaneous transformation from one character to another. The other actor in this show is Mrs. Hudson, Jamie Nicole Wilcox, Holmes' head of house. She has also stepped into roles as dead bodies, so the original bodies can make additional entrances. The show is a madcap whirlwind of plot twists, outrageous incidents, and crazy characters. As Sherlock Holmes, Elisha Cullens was everything we expect in the character, possessing uncanny deductive reasoning, predator observational skills, photographic memory, superior intelligence, unemotional, slightly arrogant yet charming, and dependent on and ultimately devoted to Watson. The precision with which Mr. Cullens delivered instructions to his various minions, including Dr. Watson, was a marvel to witness. Mr. Cullens consistently creates credible characters the audience roots for. He is a real hero. Here is another outstanding addition to his impressive, growing resume. Paul Jekyll's Dr. John H. Watson was a loyal and trustworthy friend to Sherlock. He was courageous, but also showed fear, so there was an honest modesty to his portrayal. He tolerated Holmes' unabashed imperiousness. His storytelling made the case enchanting and relatable. His Watson was clear and forthright, while being at once in awe and beholden to Holmes. Mr. Jackal is a Broadway veteran, and we are blessed to have his talents here. He raises the level of every production he is in. He has the enviable ability to create truthful characters without resorting to cliches or stereotypes. Jamie Nicole Wilcox, Mrs. Hudson, was understandably impeccable in her standards and presentation. She spent most of the show serving and sipping tea and doing Holmes' bidding, and when it was time for her to step in as a replacement for a dead body, she performed admirably with good humor. Now we come to the rest of the cast. Ms. Ventimiglia's main character was Sir Henry Baskerville, a swaggering Texan who has a 6-gun in a holster beneath his plaid jacket and 10-gallon hat. Ms. Ventimiglia postured with the best of them. But when she set eyes on Beryl Stapleton, Christy Scott, and there was that soap opera moment accompanied by the most romantic music of all time as their eyes locked and they reached out in a romantic embrace and laid on Watson's chest gazing at each other longingly, it was hilarious and priceless at once. Her other main character besides all the Baskervilles was the Holmes story stalwart Inspector Lestrade, who Holmes always seems to be light years ahead of. Christy Scott was a marvelous femme fatale as Beryl Stapleton. Her Dr. Mortimer was appropriately officious, but her semi-disabled Barrymore at the Baskerville home was something out of Mel Brooks. She played everything from a young boy to a black-bearded stranger, both genders, all ages, accents, convincingly with commitment. Lena Eichel Kruger found a totally different character every time she came on, not only physically, but also vocally, and she did marvelous dialect work as well. She dove into every second with reckless abandon and absolute certainty. But my favorite turn of hers was when she did a takeoff on one of my all-time favorite movies, Mel Brooks' Young Frankenstein, where Igor, Marty Feldman, tells Dr. Frankenstein, Gene Wilder, to walk this way and expects him to imitate his gait. Ms. Kruger does a similar move as Mrs. Barrymore, entreating Dr. Watson to walk this way, and she milked it for all it was worth. Also, her Elmer Fudd and Daffy Duck dialect for Mrs. Barrymore was done so well and contributed to the success of this outstanding farce. I would love to see this done a la Noises Off, where we see what was going on backstage. It would be such a hoot. I am certain it was a scene of freneticism that likes of which most of us have never seen and can only imagine. Besides directing this show, Mr. Jones was the lighting designer and, along with Amanda Michelle Dillinger, set designer. The lighting and set played a key element in making Mr. Jones' concept work perfectly. Another word about Mr. Oberg's costuming is more than in order. This show required a close collaboration and coordination of all the production elements. Costumes needed to be created that read well, but could be rapidly gotten into and out of, and with 35 different characters, this was a humongous job, accomplished with excellence and pure understanding by Micah Oberg. He is definitely his mom's son. Angel Juarez was responsible for the sound and projections. There was a wonderful, funny foghorn sound effect that was used every time anyone in the cast said Grappenmeier. Also, the projections had to be precisely aimed because they were projected onto the 2 doors, and they were perfect. Excellent work, Ms. Juarez. Baskerville is another notch in the belt of excellence and fun that ProArts creates, represents, and perpetuates. Everyone associated with this effort are operating at the top of this discipline. Special appreciation to Mr. Jones for his inspiration, vision, and ability to fully implement it. Baskerville continues Thursday to Saturday at 7:30 and Sundays at 2 until February 16th. If you want to have a great laugh and a fabulous day or night at the theater, go to proartsmaui.org for tickets and information. What are you waiting for? Get on it right now. Well, that's Curtain Call for this week. Mahalo nui loa for tuning in. I'm Paul James Brown. Maui strong. Ahui ho.